Okay, so I'm joined by Academy Manager Kieran Scarff. We're speaking on Monday, so who knows what could change by the time this goes to air. But one thing you do know, you're in the office. So as a sort of Academy Chief, what can you do at this moment in time? Is it all steam ahead as far as you can work out?
To a degree, to be honest with you, Phil. The under-18s have been back in today. They've all been COVID tested on their return from their sort of Christmas break with their families. Great that they've all tested negative. They're all very healthy, so they're out training at this moment in time. So that's good to see them. We've made a decision. We were going to start the 9s to 16s program and the pre-academy program this week, but we've made a decision not to do that. We think it's right to work broadly in line with the schools returning. Obviously, as you've alluded to, that might be changing by the sounds of it, but we think that's right. We didn't think it was right for schools to essentially be told that they couldn't have students back in. Yet we could have obviously 8 squads of players through the week training in the evening. We didn't think that was the right course of action. So we've delayed it by a week initially, and obviously we'll review that at the end of the week, possibly earlier than that, depending on the announcement that we're going to hear later on.
In terms of the 18s fixtures, obviously you've got the Youth Cup outstanding. Are you able to play fixtures at this moment in time, as you understand it?
Yeah, as I understand it, as long as the first team continues, it will be classed as elite football, and the youth team's classed as elite football. So that will continue. It will be the impact will be on the younger age groups if they maintain that classification. And obviously we hope they do. You know, everybody wants to sort of carry on playing, but only if it's safe to do so. So we'll wait and see what the outcome is. But as long as elite football is allowed to continue, then under-18s football at professional level will continue, I believe.
Before we go on to more general things, as a former teacher and as someone who's got a wonderful relationship with Nîmes Park Academy, you must feel for teachers can get overlooked in this whole scenario. They've been trying to teach in classrooms and then do remote learning. It's an incredible thing that they've been put up with over the last 12 months.
If I look at my situation in terms of the job I do, and there's been lots of frustrations with lots of last-minute changes, lots of last-minute information, which is mostly unavoidable, really, but it does bring frustrations. But I think that pales into real insignificance with what teachers and probably other industries, have had to deal with. Certainly, obviously, like you say, in terms of my knowledge of teaching and the relationship with Nîmes Park, seeing what they're having to deal with day in, day out, and the changes that are last minute that are thrown upon them, and how adaptable they've been is tremendous, really, to be honest with you, just to make sure that the education of the youngsters isn't impaired too much at all.
In terms of some positive news, obviously Benjamin Mensah, the latest academy graduate to get a professional contract, and thoroughly deserves it. Obviously, people would have seen him in the Papa John's Trophy, but someone who's worked with him for a number of years now, you know what potential he's got.
Yeah, delighted for Benji. Absolutely delighted. He has got loads of potential. First and foremost, I say this quite a lot about people in general, I suppose. He's got a real enthusiasm in the way he goes about life in general. Very positive, willing to learn, wants to learn. He's so respectful, very humble. All those qualities that I think are so important in terms of developing a successful career in anything you choose to do. And then as a footballer, he's got some outstanding attributes. He's really, really quick. And 1v1, both in and out of possession, he's very, very good. And in the position he plays is either as a fullback or as a wing back. Obviously, they're vital components, really. He tends to get the better Benji in possession of his direct opponent 1v1 more often than not. And it's very, very rare that you'll see him get beaten 1v1. Very rare. He's aggressive. He's tenacious. He's got areas to improve, like every player has. He knows what they are and will continue to work, and they will continue to improve because he's got such a good attitude. So I'm delighted for him. He's certainly one that we all feel has got a really positive future ahead of him.
Alan Swan actually gave Ronnie Edwards an A in his grades this week.
Is that all? Just an A?
Yeah, the only player graded A, and obviously he's only played a handful of appearances in the first team. But as someone that obviously is coming as a teenager, as a 17-year-old, just shows what we've already spoke about, how level-headed he is, and he takes everything into his stride. But it's very easy to sort of say that without the evidence, but the evidence is there now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he does take everything in his stride, and I think that's a big feature of Ron. Is he's just, you look at the Oxford game away in the FA Cup, the MK Dons game. He just plays every game the same way. He approaches, and it doesn't appear to faze him. He's got a really good temperament to align to what is obviously loads and loads of ability. And again, he'll only get better. He'll only get better. He's not 18 till the end of March. He's got an outstanding future ahead of him. I'm sure he'll carry on improving, because again, he's another one with a tremendous attitude. And I always go back to that. You've got to have an attitude where you want to learn, want to develop, be receptive to feedback, and he's got that. And because of that, he will carry on getting better and better. But to play in the way he has and to deliver the performances he has at such a young age, the level of composure, outstanding.
The academy is always about producing players, and that can be producing players for Peterborough United, or it can be producing players full stop. And obviously, there's been an example of a youngster who's obviously gone on to another club this last couple of weeks or so. And you wish them well, don't you? Because ultimately, you're providing for their future. It doesn't necessarily mean it be at Peterborough United. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we are sort of very clear in our intentions that we want our young players to stay and develop with us for as long as they possibly can. In the case of the player you're talking about, we're talking about a 13-year-old, and there's no way that myself or the owners could sort of not inform them of the level of interest that was being created, because that's just not right. They've got a decision to make. We then set about trying to get the lad to stay. Listen, he's had in his parents' own words and his words, had a great time in the few years that he's been with us. Really, really enjoyed it, and was an extremely tough decision that took quite a long time to make. So that sort of is testament to the work that the coaches and all the staff that have worked with him have done. But at the same time, he's seen this as an opportunity and wants to challenge himself. And good luck to him. I've got nothing but admiration for him. He's, again, another one with an unbelievably positive, competitive attitude, with a really good future ahead of him. And like you said, we want to get players into our first team, but if we can't do that, we help get them into a first team somewhere else. We help them develop their career somewhere else. And sometimes that can even be outside of football, that they kick on and take things from us that help develop careers elsewhere. But in this case, we'll be watching his development very, very closely, very proudly, and we wish him all the best.
And just finally, as an academy manager, obviously you're looking at the best interests of players, and obviously no one could have predicted what's happened over the last sort of 12 months, and players will probably be looking at themselves and thinking, well, I've missed a year of my development, or I've missed the potential to get a contract, because obviously it's around the sort of time where you're looking at the future. How do you sort of weigh up everything to make the right decision for the football club?
Well, first and foremost, Phil, you put everybody's welfare at the heart of your decision. Certainly, well, at all times really, but even more so, during a pandemic. That's everything we have to do. And there's different ways of looking at that. There's obviously exposure to the virus. There's also maintaining relationships and maintaining mental health. All those sorts of things are really important. And we, like all of the clubs that I'm aware of, did a lot of work in terms of keeping in contact with players, families, staff, because that sense of belonging is so important to mental health. And we've managed to continue that. Obviously, we've been back training for quite a while now, which has been great. We might have to go into a period where we're not training as much, maybe with the younger age group. So we'll revert back to that. But everything's about their welfare. That's the most important thing. The football club will continue. The opportunities will continue. And we've just got to make sure we support everybody, staff, players, families, as best we possibly can to get through this, and then be able to look forwards, which, I try, I'm trying to remain very positive with this, and I do believe that we're getting there. Things are very frustrating at the minute, really frustrating, but I do think we're getting there, and we will continue to work with everybody that we possibly can do, and support everybody we possibly can do to keep that positivity and keep that light at the end of the tunnel.